Grab your fedoras, your satchel, and but not the high pants from Crystal Skull, and let's run down some nifty little nuggets found in all the Indiana Jones movies. I'm Joey C. Let's go! As I've seen this movie more times than there are snakes in the Well of Souls scene, well, this one was surprising. Within Raiders of the Lost Ark, when Indiana Jones is removing the Ark, one has to look to the immediate left. There are Egyptian hieroglyphics of a certain galaxy far, far away's astromech droid and protocol droid. It's none other than R2-D2 and C-3PO.
What are you talking about?
As someone who has seen this movie several times, from youth to adulthood, it's surprising I have never seen this until the dawn of the internet. I think the reason, everyone's eyes automatically goes to the Ark, and not what's on the peripheral.
And you had no idea about it.
The Beards, Spielberg, and Space Buddha himself, George Lucas, make an appearance in the airplane hangar bay in Temple of Doom. They are just kind of in the background like sentinels, just watching Indiana Jones. Maybe George Lucas is pitching Howard the Duck. Who knows? They are difficult to see, which is intended not to distract from the scene. This cameo by both of them is rare. Unlike a man like Hitchcock who makes a random appearance in all his films, it's a pretty interesting observation that makes one want to watch the film a bit more closely next time they want to hear Mola Ram, Mola Ram, Mola Ram. Every George Lucas fan knows that Han Solo was frozen in carbonite.
He should be quite well protected. If he survived the freezing process, that is.
If it doesn't ring a bell, that is the metal alloy made from carbon that's good to transport smugglers across the galaxy. In the opening scene, the ravaged ship is set off the coast of Portugal. But within one scene on board the ship, where we first see the character known as the Man in the Panama Hat, and his search for the elusive cross of Coronado, there are piles of barrels that say, you guessed it, Carboneto. That is the Portuguese word for carbide, which is the short-sounding version of the word carbonite. Another inside joke by the production crew, and a wink at Star Wars fandom. And there are a lot of Star Wars nods up ahead. But before we get into that, everybody remembers the iconic scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark. While he is being chased around Cairo and combining the allies for Willie, there is a truly memorable scene that happened. Well, off the cuff. That being, Indy simply shoots the swordsman, showing off his swordsmanship. Bang! Done! Cool! Iconic. But according to Harrison Ford, there was going to be an elaborate fight sequence right then and there. But the reason why it wasn't filmed was because Harrison had diarrhea. According to reports, he was ill for many days. He told Spielberg, quote, "I have a gun. Why don't I just shoot the guy?" It's a hysterical improv. It's also a great big surprise ending to that scene. It crystallizes in the memory banks as cool. There's another nifty little nugget that even if one may have seen this movie more times than Sand in the Sahara, they probably missed it. Just as Indy is scrambling away from the angry band of natives after he ransacked the idol, he sprints towards the airplane, with his homie Jock Lindsay sitting on the wing of the airplane with a fishing pole. But one of the interesting things that are so easy to miss is sitting there in broad daylight in the South American jungle, the OBCPO, as if Obi-Wan and C-3PO from Star Wars. This is not the last time there will be a Star Wars homage on the list, because the two franchises are so closely intertwined. In 1974, George Lucas had a breed of dog called an Alaskan Malamute. That dog's name? Indiana. One of the more interesting things when one knows this juicy nugget of movie trivia, the dialogue at the end of The Last Crusade in a majestic stone-caved place known as the Petra in Jordan, with all the heroes on the verge of riding off into the sunset and bidding us adieu, there is something interesting one may have missed, that being an amusing dialogue on the topic of canine and names. Sala asked Indy, "What does it always mean, this junior?" Sean Connery's character would always say,
"That's his name. Henry Jones Jr."
Then Indiana Jones would mumble, "I like Indiana." Then his father would lean in and utter,
"We named the dog Indiana."
It's a case where art imitates life, or vice versa.
That deserves some credit.
Everybody who's seen Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom remembers the gruesome, bloodiest, and most horrific death in the whole series. That would be the chief guard of the Thuggees' demise. He was the big guy Indy fights and is punched in the face, then who is subsequently rolled under the rock crusher. Ouch! Which is probably one of the reasons why it got the first ever PG-13 rating. One thing one might not realize, stuntman actor Paul Roach appeared in a whopping 3 Indiana Jones films as 4 characters, also including 2 other very famous gruesome deaths deaths at the behest of Indy, one including the bearded Middle Eastern guy in Raiders, the giant Sherpa. He is mowed down by a machine gun before Indiana gets the headpiece to the staff of Ra. Then, well, we all remember this one. He was also a dapper-looking Gestapo aboard the blimp in The Last Crusade. Rip to a stuntman legend. Funny Man from Ghostbusters and SNL makes a brief and not-so-secret cameo in Temple of Doom. Dan Aykroyd, Dr. Raymond Stans himself, is in the movie for a whopping 18 seconds.
I'm Weber. I spoke with your assistant. We've managed to secure 3 seats.
Not a whole lot is going on in this scene, but merely an amusing cameo by a man who was filming Ghostbusters around the time this movie was shot. In a scene in Marshall College, Indiana Jones would deliver the line, "Archaeology is the search for facts, not truth." First, that is a thought-provoking line of dialogue that helps cement his character simply more than just being an action-adventure hero who ransacks tombs. There's a bit more beneath the surface on an intellectual level, but then, when he stands in front of the blackboard in his dapper suit and tie, he says,
"If it's truth you're interested in, Dr. Tyree's philosophy class is right down the hall."
But this is another situation where art imitates life, and wink winks. It is for someone who knew Harrison Ford in his pre-famous actor carpentry years. Ford just so happened to be a philosophy major at Wisconsin's Ripon College. His instructor? William Earl Tyree. I guess that was a shout out how a certain teacher influenced his thinking and his roots. Speaking about the new movie, if the aforementioned Star Wars reference is blink and you miss it, this one is to Star Wars fans. Well, if you close your eyes, you're still gonna see it. It's that whip-cracking obvious. This whirling, swirling vortex of light in the new Indiana Jones film's trailer, The Dial of Destiny, resembles Hyperspace from the Millennium Falcon, then juxtaposed with a cockpit of something from a World War II Boeing B-29, which was the inspiration from said Han Solo spaceship. Once upon a time, Steven Spielberg tried twice to direct a James Bond movie. So impassioned he was to direct one, he contacted producer Albert R. Broccoli. Then on vacation in Hawaii after Star Wars, Lucas and Spielberg would be sitting on a beach. He told Lucas he wanted to direct a James Bond movie. Lucas said, "I've got something better." Then he pitched Raiders of the Lost Ark. Which brings up this point. In the opening shot, in Shanghai in Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones is wearing the same white tuxedo, white shirt, and crimson lapel flower that Sean Connery wore in the James Bond movie Goldfinger, and revealed in a subtle way Spielberg's love for 007. That isn't the only intriguing visual reference on the topic of wardrobes. In Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, if you wear a lapel flower and you come in an encounter with an archaeologist, well, chances are you are plotting to dispatch him. From the Panama Hat Man, with carbonate barrels to Kazim, a descendant of Christian Byzantine from the boat chase, finally the double-crossing and horrid melted death man Walter Donovan. All of them have plotted to kill our beloved archaeologist.
Are you serious?
In Venice, Indy hands blonde bombshell Elsa Schneider a flower he uses as lapel. However, this one is white. If one recalls, she was also a double-crossing femme fatale. One is kind of flabbergasted that nobody on set saw this boulder-sized blunder. Within the blimp, just as the father and son aboard is a goof, his father is trying to appear inconspicuous by reading a newspaper over his face. The problem with this scene is he's holding the newspaper upside down. Another more hysterical tidbit that will make you look at it differently every time you see it. In this scene where the father and son are reminiscing about old times, rekindling the relationship, well, they are not wearing any pants. The reason? Sean Connery was warm and Harrison Ford followed his lead and wore no trousers.
Yeah. You like it?
Okay, so George Lucas updated Return of the Jedi so Ewoks blink, but not this. This has always been one of those glaring flaws that I caught as a kid, and each time I see the movie, it pulls me out of the scene like a lasso around me.
What the hell is this?
Just as Indiana Jones gets the MacGuffin of the movie, he brings it to his father to heal him. The elephant in the room? He appears to have infinite amount of water even after he pours it. This is a glaring problem where you think prestigious editor Michael Kahn could have fixed it easy peasy, or maybe digitally years later. If Ewoks can blink now, why not fix that? But I guess that's not really that sacrilegious. The final entry, we will dig deep into who the character of Dr. Henry Walton Indiana Jones Jr. is. One of the things any fans might notice, his background is shrouded in mystery. If you think about it, if you have just seen the movies, very limited info is known about him. Beyond past love with Marion, a Scottish dad named Henry, and a hooligan greaser's son named Mutt. But within the seminal 1992 TV show, Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, his past is uncloaked. The big things. He had a sister named Susie Jones, who, in 1910, died young of thyroid fever. Then, a mother who died of scarlet fever in 1912. That spearheaded his father's mission to find the Holy Grail, and also began Indiana's first adventures, as played by River Phoenix. This Emmy-winning TV show has been kinda dormant in the 4K era. Here's to Disney relaunching that, and then a new series where we learn about his early adventures, and perhaps more about his early relationship with Marion, and his Scottish father.
I'm telling you, he is wonderful.
Well, Indiana Jones fans, the Nazis have melted, the children are saved, the Holy Grail found, and UFOs have taken off to space. That about wraps it up for the slight gags and Easter eggs and amusing goofs sprinkled throughout the 80s action series. When the new film comes out, one can assume there will be even more Star Wars nuggets. Perhaps there'll be a hieroglyphic of Shia LaBeouf swinging on a vine.
Ah, it's cool. It's alright. Don't worry about it. We're kind of finished now.